Of all the men that I've met in my life, he was a real Southern gentleman, and he was a very kind person. He cared for people.
He was never too busy to talk to you.
He made a big impression on me as a young guy.
Lyle was what I call a community participant.
If you had a problem, you had an emergency, and you wanted to see him, he had an open door policy, and would always handle things the right way.
My academic career was not a thing of beauty. I did not come to the university being a star student. I struggled a lot. I was 16 hours deficient through my sophomore year. And Dean Willhite asked me to come into his office and have a little discussion. And he encouraged me.
After I had graduated from CMU, I was working in public accounting and trying to figure out my career, a little bit about what to do next. It had been a couple of years and I was getting promoted and everything, but I just wasn't sure, what to do next and what's the right step. So I came back to CMU. I was working in Southfield, and I came back to CMU, and I just went here, and I came to the main office desk there, and I said, is there any way I can talk to maybe an advisor about, additional work that maybe I should be taking? And they said, well, 1 minute. And the next thing I know, Dean Willhite's coming out to talk to me. And no, I'm not that important. Why? And so we went into his office, and he had this great big wooden desk. I mean, it was huge. And so I thought he was going to sit behind the desk. And he went over and picked up a couple papers, and then he went and sat beside me.
No matter who you were, he was going to take time to talk to you. If you had a problem, he was going to try to help you solve that problem.
He was the kind of teacher that you were in a classroom and you thought he was talking to you.
At the end of my senior year, I finally got up to a 2-point, but I did not have enough hours to graduate at that time. I had to come back for one more semester. So I went back to Dr. Willhite and asked him if I could go concurrently and get my master's degree, which required a significantly higher grade point average than I had. And he looked at me, being people-centric, and said, we'll give it a shot.
They had an emergency. One of the faculty members in the marketing department became ill, and they asked if I could teach a retailing class. Well, I was in the retailing business right across the street in the clothing business. And so I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And, a month or so went by, and I'd see Dean Willhite in the hall, and he'd say, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing good. I said, I really like it. This is fun. I can transfer what I've been doing to the classroom. And it wasn't too long after that he called me in and he said, I want to tell you, I think that you should get your MBA, and I think you ought to get your MBA right now.
In 1975, I had been pushing for promotion. I was going through some personal problems, and I was pushing for full professor. Well, when I got the promotion, Dean Willhite came to the house, and I was in the hospital, and my sons were at home, and he told them why he was there, and he sat and talked to the boys for about 30 minutes, they said, and just giving them encouragement, and it was just, my oldest son especially was very impressed with him, and I was too, that he would take the time to come to my house to tell me that I had made full professor.
I was getting drafted by the Army as well, so I was getting some pressure there. And the draft board gave me 8 months to finish my graduate degree. I came back to Dean Willhite and said, how do I get this done in eight months? And there was one way, and that was finance. So I majored in finance and finished it in August and got drafted after that.
I think he saw that I was really interested in academia, that I was a pretty good fit in the classroom, and that launched me on 40 years at CMU as an instructor and an administrator.
His interest in you was genuine. You know, it wasn't put on. I mean, this guy, in my mind and many others, that this guy was genuinely interested in your future and your success.
He impacted so many people, and in a positive way. You know, and I talked to other students, and you know, they would say, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do now, and I know how I'm going to get there." You know, he gave me the impetus to do what I think I can do. You know, now I'm motivated, and I wasn't motivated before, and I think that was his greatest quality, just concern. You know, for all of his students and faculty, both, but you know, especially the students.
A man like that's a delight to work with because you have no pessimism, you know. He's ready to work anytime. And that attitude is contagious. And I saw that work over the months and years.
He really was the guy that influenced me the most, that maybe I should set my goals a little higher than maybe what I had before I met him.
He was just a kind, very kind individual, and it showed. And I think people felt that with him.
Later in life, when I was in my 40s, I found out that I was dyslexic. And that's why I struggled so much. But he did for me, he gave me guidance, he gave me encouragement, he looked at me as a person. I think he's the only one that ever gave me an encouragement for academics in my lifetime.